All right, let's dive into the mind of a madman. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most iconic villains in all of comics, the absolutely terrifying, cackling nightmare that gives Spider-Man his worst sleepless nights, the one and only Green Goblin. And you know what? That quote just hits the nail on the head. This isn't just some other guy in a goofy suit. The Green Goblin was built from the ground up to be something way more personal, way more unsettling. This historian, Mike Conroy, he totally gets it. This is the perfect starting point for our deep dive. So, what's the difference between a regular bad guy and a true arch-enemy? We're about to break down exactly what makes the Green Goblin not just a villain, but maybe, just maybe, the villain for Spider-Man. I mean, just look at this guy. That absolutely insane grin, the creepy pointed ears, the whole look is designed for pure theatrical terror. He's in a super exclusive club of villains, right alongside Doc Ock and Venom, who have completely defined who Spider-Man is. And honestly, he's pretty much the president of that club. And he has been at this for a long, long time. I mean, 1964, that's ancient history in comic book years. He wasn't some flash in the pan. He was this slow-burning mystery. And when we finally found out who he was, it changed everything. But behind every monster, there's a man, right? Well, in this case, a dangerously brilliant and totally fractured one. So, let's ask the big question. Who's the guy under that horrifying green mask? Everybody, meet Norman Osborn. From the outside, he's a genius, a titan of industry, even a father. But underneath all that, he's ruthless, he's greedy, and his moral compass is, well, it's busted. The Goblin isn't someone else, it's just Norman with all the filters off, volume cranked to 11. It's actually a twisted mirror of Peter Parker's life, right? A secret identity born from a lab accident, but one that chose pure chaos over responsibility. And it all boils down to this, the Goblin formula. It's the classic deal with the devil. Osborn cooked up this serum to make himself superhuman, but oh, there was a price. He got all the power he needed to go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man, but in the process, his mind just shattered. And the Goblin was right there to pick up the pieces. Okay, being strong and crazy is one thing, but what makes the Goblin so lethal is how his genius, now completely warped by madness, shows up in his weapons. He doesn't just show up for a fistfight, he puts on a whole terrifying show. Let's start with his signature ride. The Goblin Glider isn't just a way to get around, it's practically an extension of the Goblin himself. It's wicked fast, it's agile, and it is loaded with weapons. It lets him own the sky, like some kind of metal demon flying between the buildings of New York. And then you've got his famous bag of tricks. This is where his psychological game is just off the charts. Think about it, he takes this fun Halloween theme that's meant for kids and twists it into something incredibly sadistic. Those pumpkin bombs aren't just grenades, they're like these little cackling messengers of death. And the ghost bombs, genius. They don't just hurt Spider-Man's body, they attack his greatest power, that spider sense. It's so creative, so personal, and just unbelievably cruel. And all of this, it brings us to the moment. The one single act that forever branded the Green Goblin as Spider-Man's most hated, most personal enemy. This isn't just a comic book story. This is a turning point for the entire medium. See, before this story, there were rules. There were these unspoken lines that villains just didn't cross. The hero's family, their loved ones, they were supposed to be safe. The Green Goblin didn't just cross that line. He blew it up. And in doing so, he pretty much ended the happy-go-lucky Silver Age of comics with one tragic snap. Just think about how cruel this was. The Goblin figured out who Spider-Man really was, and what was his very first move? He went after the person Peter Parker loved more than anyone. He made this fight devastatingly personal. Now, in a moment of what you might call poetic justice, the Goblin gets taken out by his own glider. But it was too late. The damage was done. Peter Parker's life, and honestly the world of comics, would never ever be the same. But here's the thing. It's way harder to kill an idea than it is to kill a man. Norman Osborn might have been gone for a while, but the Green Goblin, oh, he was just getting started. That mask became a curse, just waiting for the next person to put it on. And tragically, the very next face was Norman's own son, Harry, who just happened to be Peter Parker's best friend. I mean, come on, this wasn't just a new villain, it was a living nightmare for Peter. He had to fight the guy who was basically his brother, a kid completely twisted by grief and trying to get revenge on the hero he blamed for his father's death. It just took the wound the goblin had already created and poured salt all over it. And after Harry, the legacy just kept spreading like some kind of virus. It wasn't about the Osborns anymore. You had psychologists, journalists, common criminals. The mask and the glider just seemed to call out to other broken people. It proves that the goblin had become more than just one man's insanity. It was now a full-blown symbol of chaos, an idea that anyone could pick up and wear. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? Norman Osborn created the Green Goblin, but the idea of the Green Goblin eventually became bigger than him. It turned into this legacy of pain, a shadow that's been chasing Spider-Man for decades, no matter who's actually behind the mask. So that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. The Green Goblin is obviously powerful, no doubt. But is that what really makes him unforgettable? Or is it the deep, personal pain he represents? The loss he caused, the friendships he shattered, and that awful, simple truth that sometimes the worst monsters are the people we used to know.